I live in whatever I like, Maya. From a mountain to a moonbeam. Or I live wherever I'm needed. So I move a lot these days. It's getting harder and harder to help Mother Nature protect the forest from the humans.
You're kidding. You would have to be magic to do all that.
Well, of course I'm magic, Maya.
One of the oldest genres in fiction is the nature fable. The human race has been anthropomorphizing animals since we first figured out how imagination works, and imparting human-like personalities onto wildlife is a tried and true way to explore human ideas through metaphor. But sometimes the people writing these nature fables ask the question, okay, we've got these wild animals acting like people, what happens if we dropped, like, actual people into the setting? You can make the human characters as much of that natural world as the animal characters. This usually comes in the form of children being raised by animals, Mowgli from the Jungle Book being the classic example. Then you have stories where the humans are still distinctly human, or something very close to human, but are friends to the animals. David the Gnome isn't technically human, but he's close enough, and he's all about helping his animal friends. And then you have stories where humans and human society are a direct threat to the natural world. The hunters killing Bambi's mom and setting the woods on fire, the lumberjacks destroying the Fern Gully rainforest, a scuba diving dentist kidnapping Nemo from the ocean. More often than not, these stories are getting the people watching or reading or listening to take a long, hard look at how we treat the world around us. And then you have the 1975 Japanese anime Maya the Bee, a 52-episode series about an inquisitive bee girl who gets exiled from her hive and winds up befriending and having adventures with the other insects of the forest. And Maya the Bee's answer to the human question is, it's complicated. Today we're looking at episode 30 of Maya the Bee, Maya no Onegai, which directly translates as Maya's Request, or as it was known in its first English dub produced in South Africa, The Flower Elf. Or, as it was known on the Saban-produced English dub that actually aired on Nickelodeon in 1990, Alf the Elf. In this episode, Maya's day is interrupted by an upset mosquito who really wants to get something off his chest. It seems he had a run-in with a human earlier that day, one that almost cost him his life.
Watch it, Opal, it's awake! Oh! Uh-oh! Ah! Hi, bye!
Huh? Ah! Hey, it wasn't me! No! But he didn't care. He just kept swinging and swatting and trying to make me go splat. Oh, humans love making innocent bugs go splat!
This confuses Maya, whose interactions with humans have been far less hostile. She doesn't realize that different species of insects have very different relationships with humans. Mosquitoes need to drink the blood that belongs to a human in the same way that I need to eat nectar from a flower that belongs to a human. So why are they usually chill around us bumblebees but murderous around mosquitoes? This gives Maya anxiety, worried that humans have been bad this whole time and she was just too naive to realize. She spends a sleepless night wandering about, until she comes upon a water lily in bloom, and something very strange climbs out of it.
Huh?
This is Alf the Elf, a guardian of the forest who goes around maintaining things, making sure that everything in nature is operating in tip-top shape. He's usually invisible, but Maya's caught him off guard, and when you see an elf in the flesh, they must offer you a wish. Maya thinks about it for a moment, perfect spot for a commercial break, and then wishes to know, once and for all, if humans are good or not. Alf is more than happy to oblige, and guides Maya to a series of scenes of humans behaving with kindness and love. a grandfather tucking his granddaughter in for the night, a man playing with his dog, a loving couple taking a walk, and the main event, a gaggle of children sneaking around town, delivering toys to other underprivileged kids, like little Santa Clauses. The point of this demonstration is not that humans are purely good, that they're incapable of doing bad things, but that their potential for goodness is great.
Tell me, what do you think of humans so far, Maya?
So far, they look like they're loving and kind, not bad at all.
Well, I purposely chose to show you humans that weren't doing bad or cruel things, Maya. I wanted you to see them at their best tonight, so that if someday you have to see them at their worst, you'll remember tonight and understand this. If you open your eyes, you see that humans aren't all bad, and they're not all good. They're a combination of both.
So are humans good? Are humans bad? It's complicated. But for you young humans watching at home, perhaps you should consider how often you're good, if you've been good lately, and how you can be good in the future. This episode was originally written by Nissan Takahashi, who wrote all but 6 of the show's 52 episodes. Takahashi had entered the industry as a staff screenwriter for film producer Daiei, where he wrote the first 8 films for Godzilla competitor / ripoff Gamera, Guardian of the Universe, Friend of all Children. You might think it quite the leap from giant monster movie to cute cartoon about a curious bee girl, but most of the Gamera movies were effectively children's films anyway. The episode was storyboarded by Motosuke Takahashi, whose animation work we've seen before on Knacks in Belle and Sebastian and the Mysterious Thieves of Gold, and he would end up a well-regarded director on shows like Yu Yu Hakusho, Flame of Reika, Tokyo Mew Mew, and Bleach. At this point in his career, however, he was probably picked up for Maya the Bee because he had experience as a key animator for the other big 1970s bee anime, The Adventures of Hutch the Honeybee. While Maya the Bee does have its exciting moments, it's really at its best when it's being slow and meditative and thoughtful, and this episode is a great example of that. The highlight being not Alf helping Maya learn about humans, but the build-up to it, with Maya wandering around at night and stumbling onto little scenes of nocturnal insects living their lives.
Who's playing that beautiful music? Music is so lovely. I could listen to it all night long.
It sets the mood, makes the little world Maya lives in feel alive. The episode is calming and pleasant, but it's not deep. It's not that interested in the questions it raises about humanity, about the relationship between the insect world and the human world. And it's morally simplistic, categorizing most human actions in a binary system of good or bad without exploring motivating factors. Sure, killing a mosquito goes into the bad category when the mosquito is anthropomorphized and given a cartoony voice and expresses human-like anxiety, but this isn't the kind of show that'll acknowledge that mosquitoes can carry some pretty nasty diseases and often need to be dealt with. The episode might be saying, it's complicated, but it's not exactly going out of its way to tell us why it's complicated. But really, how much more should we expect? This was a family show in Japan, and Nickelodeon explicitly advertised it for a preschool audience on their Nick Jr. block. We're not selling it to the Animorphs reader demographic. So this leaves us with just one last question. Why did they name this guy Alf? They had to have known what eldritch horror they were invoking with that name. Heck, Alf was still airing new episodes when Maya the Bee premiered on Nickelodeon. Now, this could be a matter of the character being named Alf in the original Japanese version, which predates the Demon Alf by a decade. Unfortunately, I couldn't get a hold of the Japanese version of this episode in a timely or affordable manner, and there's no Japanese language Maya the Bee fan wiki, so I can't confirm or deny this idea. I do have the first English dub, the older one made in South Africa, and the story's pretty much the same between the two dubs. But in the South Africa version, the elf just straight up doesn't have a name.
friend.
Why, hello!
What are you? I've never seen an insect as beautiful as you.
I'm not an insect, my dear. I am a flower elf. I live there.
Hello?
Hello, but who are you?
Elf.
Alf? That's a nice name, but what are you?
An elf, of course.
An elf?
That's right. I'm Alf the elf.
I can't be 100% sure, but I strongly suspect that the use of the unholy name Alf is a creation of the Saban dub. Probably just for the alliteration, you know, Alf the elf. It's fun to say. But at what cost? How many poor 4-year-olds tensed up, believing they were about to watch a Maya the Bee Alf crossover? I mean, probably none. Disclaimer, I'm being silly. You guys get weird sometimes when I get silly, so, you know, this is me being silly. Most of the Saban dub of Maya the Bee is considered lost media, but this specific episode has been uploaded to YouTube from a television recording, and the entirety of the South African dub is available if you want to give both versions a spin. There's links in the description. It's not that deep, but it's got good vibes, which I suppose you could say about Maya the Bee as a whole. But that's a discussion for a longer video. This was just a sample.